I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. Whatever. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values or feelings or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Hopefully everything's coming through. Welcome to another Office Hours live stream. I forgot to turn this light off, but oh well, light's on. I don't know, is it better off or on? What do you guys think? Used to the ambiance of it off, but Sound Engraver always likes more light. She likes a big spotlight above me. I always think it looks weird, but you guys tell me. Because I don't know. But welcome to everybody here. Hopefully you guys have had a good week. Hopefully you had a good safe snow days. If you had snow, we had snow. A lot of places around the US anyway had snow, and it's awesome. It's good to get snow. Thank you, Dr. Y. Less glare on the forehead. You're so funny. Everybody says lighting's good. That doesn't tell me if it looked better with the light on or the light off. But anyway, oh wow, Leia Plus Size says Michigan. Yeah, you guys would get snow a lot. It's nothing big there for you. But yeah, love snow, love winter when it's proper winter, and so far we've had a proper winter, so it's good. Let's see. Let me welcome everybody. Ghost Planet Max Inc. was first. Good to see you there, as always. Hope your mother's doing okay too. I remember I think about her. Hopefully she's doing well. Eldritch Fan, good to see you there. Excuse me. Eldritch Fan, I just now see that you had quite a little essay going on there. Unfortunately, I forgot to check it out before the stream. But hope you're doing well. Enzolo, good to see you. Guess you're sticking with that name, sticking with that new phone screen name. Electric Barbarella, welcome. Private Eye, Imaginative Hobbyist, Stephen M. AL, good to see everybody. Ace Moic, Darth Enigma, of course, my dear sweet Sound Engraver, telling me that it looks better with the light on. All right, in all of our usual crew here, welcome to everybody. Michael Scimbati, good to see you there, channel member. All right, I think I got everybody here. I just it's look at the glare. The light comes on and immediately glare on my glasses, glare on the posters behind me, just glare everywhere. Yes, glare on my big fat forehead. I get it. Oh yeah, Inzolo talking about the fires in California. Yeah, I hope if you guys are in California, please stay safe. Hope everybody's doing okay. Um, yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, prayers to those people living there. That's a pretty rough thing to go through. I just had an amazing nap. Usually I get home from mass on Saturdays and I get sort of a nap and I wake up kind of groggy or whatever. But man, I had a solid nap. It was wonderful. So I'm feeling pretty good. I did want to show you guys a couple things before I get into the content that I'd forgotten to show. This is kind of like Christmas haul stuff because usually I get a lot of Amazon cards for Christmas, so I order stuff from used sellers and whatnot on Amazon that sometimes takes a while to get here. And just the other day, this came, which I'm really psyched about. I grew up, loved reading anytime I could get an issue of those DC Who's Who. They were basically like little encyclopedias of the DC universe. It was Who's Who in DC Comics, and it would be like from this letter to that letter or whatever. I don't know how I found this. Somebody was selling it at a really great price. It's a big, like, library-bound cover of DC Who's Who. It's volume 1, but it's pretty darn comprehensive. And it's basically just all of the comics. I'll get to the first page. Like, there's the comic cover first, and it just goes through and gives, it starts with the All-Star Squadron, and it's the comic book paper, too. It's so sweet. Find you a good bouncing boy from the Legion. Of course, it's got the big names, your Batman, Superman. It even has the composite Batman, Superman from Silver Age Tales and whatnot. Really cool. And then at the end of every issue, it gives you the next issue's cover and everything. So there's Desaad from Apocalypse. Really sweet. Dr. Midnight, Dr. Light. I mean, just, love these issues. I also picked up, I don't have it in the room with me now, but I also picked up the old Batman role-playing game. I was never one that did role-playing games, like tabletop role-playing games. I love RPGs, like video game-wise, but never really did the whole in-person thing. But I love the book, the source book, because it has all the bios and stats and the artwork and everything, and it's from back in the day, which is pretty sweet, too. It's so good. I love these things. I could just spend all weekend just sitting here reading these. So this was good. Goodbye. Thought I'd brag about that a little bit. I don't know. Do you guys like reading those Who's Who too? It was a big deal growing up when I was, just getting into comics and whatnot. And I read Batman and Superman comics and Archie comics. So, and I didn't really have a sense growing up reading them of the different lines and the crossovers. I would just go to the comic book shop each week with my, allowance and just blow it on every, cover that looked cool, and I did end up kind of, because of that, reading certain lines like Legends of the Dark Knight and whatnot, but I didn't really follow the continuity as much as I would do later, in life, going back to it. So these Who's Who were great little buys and fun to go through. Got another thing that I'll go through in a second. I'll show you, but it kind of ties into one of the reviews I'm going to do. So just checking in. Freaking Dr. Y. I turned the light on and the light off my forehead. I'm blind. It's going to happen to you one day, sir. It will happen to you one day. I was looking in the mirror the other day, and I haven't lost my hair. It looks worse on camera than it does in person. But yeah, the hairline's receding. It happens. But it's not like, it's not like I'm bald. I got a good thick head of hair up here, It's not, But yeah, the hairline's receding. And it's getting to the point where I was looking in the mirror and I was like, oh no. I can see where the hairline used to be on the side of the head, and then I can see it like receding. Oh, it's like that Bill Murray deal. But hey, he still has hair, even though he has a receding hairline. He still has hair to this day. Michael Skinbodies, channel member, says, Prof, rewatch Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Excellent movie. Just curious, what's Superman's equivalent? An equivalent animated film that captures the essence of Supes. Wonder Woman has a 2009 animated movie. I'm glad you mentioned the 2009 animated movie of Wonder Woman, because you're absolutely right. That movie is epic in every way. I heard this so-called writer once try to say that's not a very good movie. I'm like, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. That movie is epic, and it's 100% iconic Wonder Woman. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But for Superman, I would have to choose Superman versus the Elite, which is the animated adaptation of What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, which is just wonderful. Wonderful book. Wonderful movie. Wonderful comic book as well. That's probably my favorite. If I had to pick one best, Superman animated film ever, it's definitely that. If you haven't seen it, you'd love it. You would really love it. It's good stuff. Yeah, you guys are ahead of me in the chat. Superman versus the Elite. I get why they changed the title, because What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way? What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way is kind of a long title for a film name. But Superman versus the Elite, I don't know, it's just kind of like, it just seems like a cheap, it's just too easy, for such an epic story. But it's awesome. It's really good. Yeah, I watch it, I try to watch it like once a year or so, or once every 2 years. C.S. Lewis said once that he said, I can't imagine truly loving a book and only reading it once. And that's so true. I think that's true of films too. The films that you truly love, the books that you truly love, you're gonna go back to, every few years at least. So yeah, I'm always going back to reread Dracula or The Christmas Carol or Something Wicked This Way Comes. Superman 78, watching that. Superman versus the Elite, Batman 89. It just, I love a movie or I love a book, I'm gonna go back to it quite a bit. And you, if it's a good book, if it's or a good movie or whatever, if it's really well done, it's gonna merit digging into and getting more things out. Peeling back more layers and really studying it. Sometimes I do a critical analysis unit with my students in just sort of like the college comp class that I teach. And, the students aren't going to read. Plus the way a lot of universities do this now, where this kind of college comp writing class really isn't necessarily part of the English department anymore. and there are pros and cons to that. But the idea, the thinking behind it is, well, not all these students are going to go be English majors. So, in this kind of class, they don't all have to read Shakespeare and analyze a play or a poem or something if they're going to go be, study kinesiology or go, be engineers or whatever. So you can have the freedom to kind of tailor the content a little bit more towards generalized, writing stuff where it's not so literary heavy. Now, I do teach a literature class too, where I really get to go wild with the literature stuff. But anyway, in that class, sometimes I'll use films and we'll practice critically analyzing film. And, we'll go through and I'll be pulling out all these things about, well, you see this, the way that character's dressed here is clearly this and that. And I'll be making all these connections and pulling this stuff out. And sometimes the students will be like, and they'll see it, they see the connection I'm making. They're like, how did you even get that? Where did you, man, I would never get something like that. I'm like, well, yeah, you'd never get it if you just watched it once and then jumped on to the next thing you're going to watch. If you just, blah, consume. If it's a good piece of art, you think about going to a museum. And I know these students have never set foot in a museum, but if you paid your money to get into an art museum, you wouldn't just walk by just like, oh, seen that painting. Okay, done. No, you're in an art museum. You're going to sit there and stare at the paintings and appreciate the craft and the skill that went into it, and what is the artist trying to say here, and really analyze the composition and so forth. And that's the same thing with film. I mean, there's our books or whatever. You need to watch it and then rewatch it and then think about it and pause it and make a list. Write down connections. Okay, these things seem to jump out at me about this film. Then you just make a list of a bunch of observations, and then you start making connections between them, and pretty soon themes develop, and you just see what's in the movie. It's a great way to do it. Really great way to do it. All right. See what you guys are. Yeah, Superman versus the Elite. A lot of love for Superman versus the Elite. Let's see. Yeah, Nathan Fillion did a great job voicing Steve Trevor in that Wonder Woman movie. Great. I think you guys said Kerry Russell. Yeah, great voice cast. It was just a great, and I was so mad that it didn't get a sequel, because that was the era where the DC animated films were actually really good. it was before Bruce Timm left, and he was still on a leash, right? DC wasn't just letting him go hog wild and do whatever crap he wanted to do, and he did some great movies. And then he left, and then they did their New 52 BS films, and then they did their Tomorrowverse movies, which pretends to go back to the iconic but doesn't at all. It ends with Crisis, which kills everybody, which is a stupid move. So yeah, that was the era for good movies, and I don't know why. I think I learned one time why they didn't give the Wonder Woman movie a sequel. I think it was because they thought they were going to develop, was it the TV show with Adrian Pilecki, or was it the Snyderverse? I forget. Which is dumb. Why can't you have an animated film, along with that? I don't know. DC, Warner Brothers, they have a long tried and true history of dumbassery when it comes to the DC properties. They have made one horrid decision after horrid decision after horrid decision. I would honestly be embarrassed to work at Warner Brothers in any kind of executive level decision-making job. I don't know how those executives at Warner Brothers can even just show their faces to the public. Even Zaslav, or whatever his name is, the new guy in charge, like, you're not changing anything. You're just business as usual. Yeah, that's one of the professions in the world. It's like working for the mainstream media. It's like, really? That's your contribution to the world? Wonderful. All right, I will stay. Well, let's go over the Oh yeah, it was, thank you, Fischozo's corner. It was the 2011 Wonder Woman TV pilot, which is an awful adaptation of Wonder Woman, but Adrian Pilecki was amazing casting in that. Actually, Wesley from Carrie Elways was he Max Lord, or was somebody in there? He was good casting, but Adrian Pilecki was, man, she was perfect for Wonder Woman. They screwed up the costume. They got that all kinds of dumb, and they showed it, pants on Wonder Woman. That was like their promotional piece. Now, if you watch the pilot, at the end of the episode, she actually has the traditional Wonder Woman outfit with the traditional bottoms and the traditional top. And Adrian Pilecki's like, oh my gosh, that's Wonder Woman. She looked the part perfectly. And I'm so bummed that she didn't get a chance to play it in a proper role. It was just a pilot, so I don't know. I didn't hear her come out and talk about how this is a great adaptation or whatever. But that was a bummer. Of course, I loved her as Mockingbird in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but she was a great Wonder Woman. It had some, I don't remember all the details on it, Elf Runner, but it had some weird ideas. The adaptation was kind of weird. But anyway. All right, now I had Studio 96 Films talking about, too bad George Miller's Justice League Mortal never came to fruition. It probably would have been good. It looked amazing except for one thing. In the script, they had Batman kill Max Lord at the end because no one of you else would do it, and I'm doing what needed to be done or whatever, which is a ridiculously stupid move, which would have ruined the whole thing. But that being said, everything else in the movie looked amazing. The casting looked great. Hopefully they would have changed that part of the script by the time it actually made, theaters, with reshoots or whatever. I would hope that. I love the idea of going with Wally West, seeing the handoff from Barry Allen to Wally West. That would have been a great film. And that's Christopher Nolan's stupidity that kept that from us. He pitched a big hissy fit at Warner Brothers because you can't do that movie because I'm doing my Batman movie and people can't have Batman in another movie if I'm doing my movie. And that's Christopher Nolan for you, just wetting his diaper over that, so they kowtowed to him because his movies were making a good deal of money. But anyway, I agree, Darth Enigma. Why are people so fixated on Batman killing people? Heroes killing people in period, if you're the Punisher, if you're somebody like that, if you're Captain America and it's World War II, fine, but why do people insist on making the DC universe do that? It ticks me off. All right, let me cover the Snow White thing first before I before I move on here, because I don't have a lot to say about this, but this is something that's bothered me for a while. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, remember when Barbie came out? Barbie is, let's just be honest, this is the feminist wet dream of a film. Okay, this was the feminists tout this movie. This is their film. Feminists love this movie. And then you had people who don't like messaging and agenda-driven storytelling in general in cinemas suddenly defend this piece of crap movie. Go back and look at the Fandom Menace channels. How many of those Fandom Menace channels, guys, this movie, it's actually Ken's movie. You know, hey, they tried to make a feminist movie, but they didn't. It's actually a really good movie. It's actually. What are you doing watching a Barbie movie? What are you doing making a video about a Barbie movie? You're a superhero channel, or you're a geek channel. What are you even doing seeing this movie? It's the same thing with Wicked. Well, I had to. My wife dragged me to Wicked, and so I just, I happened to see it, and I'm going to do a video because it's a new movie and you want the clicks. Just be honest. Just be honest. You're grifting. Just stop trying to pretend that there was all these special circumstances. You're grifting. And a lot of these channels, and it wasn't just the Fandom Menace channels, and Michael Knowles, for crying out loud. I had to stop listening to Michael Knowles' show after this. He was like, Barbie is actually, guys, this is Ken's movie. It's actually blah, blah, blah. My answer to that is, why would it even matter? Why would, what the filmmakers behind Barbie were trying to do with this movie. You know the message that they want to convey. You know that their intended audience, all the feminists, love that message. They perceive that message. They're using this film to further push that message. Do you think the studios are really going to say, oh, well, a lot of those conservative guys, or a lot of those people who resist agendas in film, they actually liked the movie, but they didn't like it for the right reasons. So, no, they don't care. They just saw your support for this movie. Why would you support this film in any way? I don't care what you thought of it. And the only reason for it is they wanted clicks. Either that, or they had such a hard-on for Margot Robbie that they just could not say no to her movie, and they just had to go see that. I mean, that's another option here. But the all they did was encourage this crap. All they did was encourage more of this kind of film in Hollywood. I mean, I'm sure it's getting a sequel. After they did that, the filmmaker, she was given the Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia series on Amazon. Like, are you kidding me? What part of Barbie translates to Chronicles of Narnia? And this is because she was rewarded. Every idiot, every simp channel out there who was like, actually, guys, Barbie's blah, blah, blah. You did this. You gave the Chronicles of Narnia, for crying out loud, to this woman who did Barbie. It really ticked me off. And then what ticks me off more is, okay, directed by Greta Gerwig. She also wrote Barbie. Okay, what is Greta Gerwig doing these days? Let's see. Let's check out her IMDb there. Known for blah, blah, blah. Let's look. Previous. We're going to look at her as a writer. And a lot of you guys already know the answer, but oh, come on. Upcoming. Yeah, Narnia. Previous. I can't find. Let me. And IMDb gets ridiculous sometimes. Greta Gerwig wrote Snow White. Snow White is an upcoming American musical fantasy film directed by Mark Webb from a screenplay by Greta Gerwig and her co-writer there. So look at all these Fandom Menace channels who are flipping their lid now about Snow White, or Rachel Ziegler said this, and what is Disney even thinking about putting out this movie, and how can you even remotely think about putting out a movie that deconstructs the classic Snow White? And all the typical Fandom Menace channels are getting their little videos in and getting their clicks, and a lot of them are the same ones that sat there and supported Barbie. What more evidence do you need that these channels are not sincere? They don't really believe this, and they're really trying to, change the culture, and they're just making these video guys so they can really put the word out there and fight the good fight, and they need your support. No, they want your money. That's why they're doing these videos. That's why they can't remain in any kind of integrity with their opinions, because they'll do it. What are they doing watching Wicked? What are they doing watching Barbie? But it's a hot new movie. They got to do a video on it. Got to get them clicks. That's what this crap is. Of course, like, I'm not even going to say anything about the Rachel Ziegler or Snow White, because of course it's hot garbage dumpster fire. Why are you giving it your attention? Because the normies don't know if we don't tell them. Shut up with that tired old stupid argument. It's just an excuse for you to keep watching your favorite YouTube communities and getting all mad and hyped up. I mean, it's one thing if it was really a matter of getting the news out there. These channels don't want the news out there. I'm not even gonna say his name because I don't want to. He's light years above me anyway. But this one guy did some channels. I mean, you'll know after I say this anyway. And I watched a couple of his videos. I always heard of him, but I never really watched his content. But he was giving some news, telling news about some of the celebrities in particular after the presidential election, after the Trump election and everything. And some of the celebs, they're just going ballistic and their careers are ruined. And, I was interested in what was going on with that. But then after I watched a video or two, his videos kept showing up in my feed, and every one of his thumbnails are the same. George Clooney says the dumbest thing ever. Sonny Halston just said the worst thing ever. Julia Roberts, she just reacted in the worst way ever. And then you watch these videos, and they're just like those clickbait articles that you'll get online, the written articles. They start out with the person, and he's got to go over and give you sort of a summation on how crazy the world of politics or Hollywood is right now, and that's a good minute and 30 seconds. And then they give their little intro, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. And then they've got like 40 more minutes, or 10 minutes, whatever the video is, of just, again, telling you the history of everything. And their title makes it sound like they actually have something new to contribute to the topic, when they don't. They're just rehashing a bunch of blah, 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 because it gets them more clicks. It gets the algorithm, and people are simps enough to want to just click, click, click. It really is. I've said it before. They're the daytime talk show addicts. These are the people that tuned in or would have tuned in to Jerry Springer and Ricky Lake and all those kind of people back in the day. Now they do it on YouTube because they just gotta have that hit, gotta have that buzz, And Snow White would get a lot less attention and would have a lot less ticket sales if YouTube would shut up about her right now. But they won't, because she's a hot item. She's their money-making thing for them. She's their cash cow, and they want to keep her relevant and keep getting those clicks on it. So they're going to keep talking about it, and she'll end up getting more ticket sales than she would have otherwise. I firmly believe that. Yeah, it's just dumb. Going to the chat here. Yeah, AL says, I don't think it really matters what YouTube thinks, what a YouTuber thinks. They don't really move the needle. It's the normies like my hubby who end up making movies money or not. Yeah. Oh, but those channels, they influence the normies, and all these kind of reasonings. And I guess maybe going into that. Well, let me answer this first. Stephen M says, just curious, but what did you think of the Snow White movie, or what do you think of the Snow White movie that's allegedly still coming out in 2025 by the Daily Wire starring Brett Cooper? Yeah, I heard about that, and yeah, is it still happening? It's kind of a, like, who knows, because she left, Daily Wire now. At first, when Daily Wire does a movie, I like the fact that there's more content that doesn't have the liberal agenda messaging forefront, over the story. And I haven't really ever seen a Daily Wire film. So that's an important caveat to make, because I'm going to make a generalization here that, hey, maybe not, But at least the way they market their films, it tends to be like, tired of the liberal agenda-driven films? Here, watch a conservative agenda-driven film. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're just trading out agendas, and I don't want that. I want a good story. But I did hear about the Wonder Woman one, and I don't know. Again, I haven't seen them. I probably would like to watch the Gina Carano film that she did, just because I like Gina Carano. I don't know if if it's films of any worth or not. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But I do like the way they marketed, or at least the way Brett Cooper talked about her Snow White, really wanting to go back to the original fairy tale and try to really capture the psychology of the story and why it's just, linked in, because they can't do the Disney movie. Obviously, they get sued, even if it's just a live action version of it. Disney put his own wonderful, beautiful stamp on that in the 30s, and it's a great Disney classic. Go watch that by all means. But yeah, I was interested in seeing the Brett Cooper version of it because I liked what was being said about it. I haven't followed every little thing, and I hope it does still happen. Apparently there's some behind the scenes bad blood between Brett Cooper and Daily Wire now or whatever. I haven't, I know enough to know that's sort of the case, but haven't found anything else about it. So anyway, the other thing I was going to talk about was He-Man briefly, and we'd known for a long time that I think it kept bouncing around. Oh, they're gonna make these people are gonna do a He-Man movie. Now these people, I think it's gonna be like an Amazon film now. These people are cast as He-Man. Oh no, that's scrap. Now these people are cast. Whatever. The person that apparently cast as He-Man now, it looks like they're gonna continue doing the series. But here's the thing. It's an Amazon original series. Why are you even remotely cautiously optimistic about it? I was looking up some stuff about it, and this guy's video came up who, I don't even remember the channel's name. I've never seen this channel before, but he was a really passionate He-Man fan, like fans of the He-Man cartoon, like myself from back in the day. And this guy and I would probably love hanging out together, right? He really, he loved He-Man, but he's talking about how his expectations are so low for this that he can sort of be cautiously optimistic because he doesn't even think it's going to be anything. He's just kind of looking forward to seeing why are you giving them attention? You have amazing He-Man content already. You have the wonderful, glorious animated series from back in the day. You have the really cool, was it 2011, 2009-ish, whatever, remake they did, which was really cool. You've got wonderful comics, the old mini comics that existed, and there have been some really great iterations in the comics. Not looking at you at all, Thundercats versus He-Man. But there's great He-Man iterations. The live action film they did back in the day with Dolph Lundgren, wonderful. Why are you even remotely looking towards new content when you know that it's going to be Amazon producing it? What is their track record? The Witcher, Rings of Power, they don't know what the heck they're doing with a good geek property. They don't. Unless it's something that already deconstructs the snot out of everything, like The Boys. People apparently like that, which I have no clue why. And I'm just talking about the property itself, not even Amazon's treatment of it, because why would you even read The Boys? Like, guys, what if superheroes that you loved were jerks and murdered people? I want to cuss so bad. Why in the world would anybody bother reading or watching that crap? Why? What is worthy of that concept to put into your soul, to put into your mind? Anyway, that's an aside. So apparently the lead actor playing He-Man has come out and said that they're not really going to go by the source material, guys. They're not going by the source material. This is their own take on He-Man, and it's kind of interesting finding out how much this property meant to people. But we hope we'll gain some new fans. And just make a list of every stupid thing you could possibly say to He-Man fans that might, for whatever reason, be interested in this property, and the actor said it. Now, other people might be quick to point out, well, look, the mini comics, the original wonderful mini comics that came with the original action figures, they're light years away from the Filmation cartoon that we all loved, and then the live action film that I pointed out with Dolph Lundgren. That's very different than the cartoon. That's not really an adaptation of the cartoon. Here's the thing, though. Whether you're looking at the mini comics, the cartoon, or the live action film, the spirit of who He-Man is 100% there. The spirit of the aspirational hero, whether or not he has a Prince Adam alter ego or not, the spirit of the aspirational hero He-Man is there. The general feel of the fantasy universe is still there. Again, the world building of those three iterations are pretty different, but you still, so that, you might say, well, there's sort of a principle set for differences of interpretation. Look, here's the thing. What is Hollywood, what has Amazon ever done to earn your benefit of the doubt there? What did they? I'm not saying. I'm just saying ignore it. They haven't earned you looking forward to this iteration at all. Why are you so desperate for a new piece of He-Man franchise or content? Just go look at the wonderful stuff. Have you really truly read every He-Man comic out there that's been great? Have you really truly watched every single He-Man episode? A lot of people haven't even watched every episode, claim to be fans of the old cartoon. And hey, they sell them. You can get the whole complete set. It's wonderful. Sound Engraver and I sat down and watched every single one of them the first year we were dating. And it was great. The movies they did, the animated films, the Christmas version, and then the She-Ra, crossover one. That's great stuff. What is I just don't, I guess it's sort of a bait and switch, me putting these titles, Snow White and He-Man, even in the title of the Office Hours live stream tonight, because I don't have anything. I'm not going to be one of the usual fandom ministers. What are these guys thinking? Oh, dar, 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 dar. I'm just saying, why pay attention to it? Why worry about it? Worry about it in terms of, it's going to be crap. It's most likely going to be crap. Why give it your attention? That's what it wants. The franchise wants your attention. Even if it's negative attention, that's publicity. Publicity's publicity. Just ignore it. And then if it did happen to come out, and if it did happen, let's say that somehow somebody at Amazon pries their head out of their butt cheeks and actually makes a decent He-Man iteration, well, then it's a pleasant surprise at that point. What did you really miss out by not paying it any attention? Oh, but I could have been following all the news and I could have been so excited. And then that's what you want. Again, like I said before, that's what you want. That's what you're into this for. You're not in this for good stories. You're not in this for good, faithful treatments of the characters and so forth. Anyway, Eldritch Fan had a super chat here. If you could have had any author, alive or not, write an EU book, who would it be? What era? Oh man, that's a deep question, man. Eldritch Fan. That's a fun question, but that's a hard question. Huh. I'm sorry, Eldritch Fan. I have to think about that. I would probably pick the Old Republic era because I dearly love, specifically, I think this would have made an incredible idea for a Star Wars TV series if you had anybody owning Star Wars who could do it right. But the series in the period in the Old Republic where Theron Shan, Bastila's great grandson, I guess, Revan's great grandson as well, I think great grandson. His mother was the Jedi, Supreme Jedi Knight or whatever, or I'm forgetting the titles. Jedi, Supreme Jedi Knight, Supreme Knight. That's Knights of Columbus jargon. Anyway, she was the head of the Jedi Council, and it was a great series in which he works for the SIS, the Strategic Information, whatever, I think that was what it was called, for the Republic. Sort of like a SHIELD, Agents of SHIELD, but in the Republic, And if you played the Star Wars Old Republic MMO, you know a lot about this, and he comes in and he's part of the different storylines. But there's a part in the comics and the novel. There's one of the novels and one of the comics in which he pairs up with Nostaral, Jedi Nostaral, and he's on this unique ship that's got all these unique qualifications. There's this Twi'lek thug gangster that he kind of saves from the life and ends up being sort of an older brother figure to. And they have this really cool team together, and them going out and doing missions. I always hated the fact that there was just a comic and a novel and that's it from that era. I thought that little period right there could have been really great. What was the novel? I'm blanking on all kind of names. It wasn't Deceived or Annihilation. It was No, it was Annihilation, I think. Yeah, because Deceived, Fatal Alliance, and then Annihilation is the novel I'm talking about. So, and there was a graphic novel that comes before that. But yeah, I thought that was a wonderful, wonderful era because Theron Shan, the son of, the great head of the Jedi, isn't born with any force sensitivities. So he's got these cybernetic implants, and he's just a really good at, spy life and what he does. That was a great era. I would love to see more written there. Now, the question of who would I have write it? Oh, crap. I mean, a lot of my favorite writers already write within Star Wars, So I'd probably put John Jackson Miller on it or Drew Karpyshyn or something like that. But I don't know. alive or dead? I have to think about that part of your question. That's a deep question. But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Sure, I'm not missing anything else here. But speaking of kind of Star Wars games and Star Wars content, recently I was going to go back to the books and the TV shows and everything I was watching before September, or maybe even late August, when I switched over to my monster movie mode, for the season. I switched over to watching all the classic monsters. I was reading a bunch of stuff up on them and some scholarly works and everything, and I did a lot of great videos, I thought, anyway. You guys seem to like them on the channel for that era. And then, the Christmas season came around, so I was doing Christmas movies, just on my own, watching and rereading The Christmas Carol again and doing some stuff like that. Of course, I've been keeping up the comics and talking about reviews of the 90s era and the 80s era that I'm still going to continue to do. But recently I was like, okay, well, let me go back to my, what I hadn't finished out completely watching or reading beforehand. And so I've gone back to finishing out the X-Files. Back in the day, I never was somebody that followed the X-Files like loyally. I knew of it, knew the general idea, and I've seen some episodes and they were great. It was great, but I never really sat down and watched every episode of every season. So I started doing that last year and made it to right up to season 4. I'm at the end of season 4 now, so I'm still going through that, which is a lot of fun. And I'll talk about that more, I think, when I've gotten farther into it, because, X-Files is the longest running sci-fi season or series, ever. I know, everybody stop, don't tell me right now, yeah, but it goes down in this season and blah, blah, blah. I know, just let me experience it for myself. I know certain things that happen, But reading-wise, I was going to go back to Star Wars EU, and I still am. I love my Star Wars EU stuff, so I was like, all right, where am I at in the reading? What do I need to go through now? But I started playing the games Mass Effect, and I'm still on Mass Effect 2 now. I'll talk about that in a second. And then I found out, okay, this is BioWare. Oh, this is Drew Karpyshyn. This is, a lot of the people that worked on Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and whatnot, worked with BioWare on this Mass Effect universe. And it really is, I went into it completely cold, too. Like, not knowing, I know it's all old news to you guys. You guys have played all the games and you're, these games are good, these games bad, whatever. But I went into it completely cold, which is how I went into Knights of the Old Republic, to be honest, which is one of the reasons why I love my experience with Knights of the Old Republic, because nobody spoiled anything for me. It was just beautiful. It was a wonderful encounter, and I keep having that encounter over and over when I replay that, those games and whatnot, or read the books and stuff. Or comics, too. Comics, man, it's so amazing. The John Jackson Miller comics. So, playing Mass Effect for the first time, it was like, oh, this is great. This world is so fleshed out. It's very much like, Knights of the Old Republic, which makes sense. Then I found out that Drew Karpyshyn wrote the story for the games. He was involved in that, just like he was for Knights of the Old Republic. Then I found out that there were some novels, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. So I actually picked up and I finished the first novel, Mass Effect Revelation, the other day, and I'll talk about this briefly. I also picked up, though, one of my kind of last Christmas money purchases was the complete Mass Effect comics run. And I got this thinking, okay, well, I like the universe. I know Drew Karpyshyn wrote some of the novels, but I was flipping through it. It just came today, actually. And John Jackson Miller is writing the scripts on a lot of these. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing, So it's a lot of the people from the Star Wars EU just came over and worked on the Mass Effect universe, too. It really is amazing. There's a lot of heart to this universe. I'm not somebody that can just easily get pulled into a science fiction universe, because a lot of times you'll run into world building that lacks story. That's just the case a lot of times. And that's not the case with Mass Effect at all. So I'm really loving that universe, and I've got some more novels to read, and obviously this big old tome of comics, which kind of take place dotted throughout the games. I think it starts out some pre-Mass Effect 1 stories, and then some stories that kind of go in the middle, and the same thing with Mass Effect 2 and 3 and Andromeda and so forth. But just want to talk about the first novel I read. If you played the first Mass Effect game, you know that part of the story is you as Shepard, Commander Shepard, whether you choose to play as a female or a male role. I always do it as a male role. I think it just works better as a male, John Shepard, Commander John Shepard. When you become a Spectre for the council, you find out that Captain Anderson, eventually you find out that he was looked at as possibly becoming the first human Spectre. And you get, if you choose the dialogue options, you get the backstory. He talks about how he went on a mission with Saren, and Saren was, reckless of all these innocent lives, and he kind of pinned it on Anderson, and that's why the council didn't accept him, and so forth. Kind of ruined his career going forward from that. He eventually became a captain, went from lieutenant to captain of a ship. But really cool little backstory. So I was looking at the novels, and I found out that the first Mass Effect novel, Revelation, tells the story as a novelization of fleshed out story of Anderson's first mission there with Saren and all of that. Now, when I found that out, I wasn't very interested, because I don't really I'm not necessarily drawn to prequel stories where you already know the tale. Like, a later movie has already encapsulated everything that happens in this story, beginning, middle, and end. You got the gist of it. You know what you need to know about that story for the world building of what's to come later. And then somebody goes back, well, let me tell the story of that, But every now and then it's done very, very well. And I trusted Drew Karpyshyn to tell it well, because I love his Star Wars novels, and he really did do it well. You meet Scar, who, if you played the first game, that was Rex's father. In the Krogan, the Krogan chieftain Scar was the Krogan who wanted to unite them all and keep fighting the clans and whatnot. And Rex was saying, no, we need to join up and continue forward if we're going to go over this genophage and stuff. So you meet Scar, he's around. Of course, Captain Anderson, Saren are still in there. You meet some characters too that are integral to the next novel. I haven't finished it yet, but I started reading the next novel, which I think is called Mass Effect Ascension, but the next novel is a prequel to Mass Effect 2. And some of the characters that he created in this novel, show up in that as well. So you keep going with it. But it really does develop the universe a lot better. If you're playing the games and the world, a lot of fun. It really reminds me of my experience with Star Wars, because it's it's a different universe and it's a different feel. Star Wars has got more of the space opera fantasy elements to it, where Mass Effect's a little more straight science fiction, but it's the same, epic hero, fighting for the good and whatnot, if you're playing the way you should, and you should be playing as a Paragon. I never understood anybody who'd want to play as a Renegade. I just don't get that. But it's great. Now, I'm interested because, with Knights of the Old Republic, you could choose, when the game first came out, as you play it now, you can choose whether Revan is a male or a female, and he just works better as a male, and the books picked up on that. And the books, if you read the books or the EU novels, they say, yeah, Revan was a male. Mitra Surik, the outcast, or what's she called? I forget. The exile, is female, and that one's kind of up in the air. I can see the exile working better as a male too sometimes, but whatever. The book's made a definitive decision on that. So far, I haven't seen a definitive decision made about the character of Shepard. We're not really telling Shepard's story with the novels or the comics. Occasionally, they'll refer to what happened, and they'll just use the word Shepard. They won't say he or she or whatever. They'll just use the word Shepard had done this or that, So, so that can still tie into whatever your preference is when you play the game, whatever gender you choose to play with. But, yeah, it's a fun game. Or like you said, Tally is your favorite crew member. Now, who did you romance? That's the big thing, right? I saw my screen freeze there. When I play these games, I need the story. I need the story to really be everything that it should be, everything that I feel like it's intended. So when the games give you choices, I love that you get choices and you get to kind of feel like you're, telling the story as well. But I always try to choose the best story options to suit the greater story, no matter what I would personally want. So, for example, playing The Witcher, Witcher 3, you get to choose whether Geralt romances. Man, I hate having these brain farts on the middle of stream. Yennefer or Triss. Yennefer is just so so freaking annoying. I can't stand Yennefer, but the story works better if Geralt's with Yennefer. I know that she really wasn't in the previous 2 Witcher games. I finally did play the first Witcher game too on Steam, but when he gets his memory back, he realizes that he loved Yennefer. So I just really don't see. I know that if you choose Triss, who's a much better character in the games anyway, in the books she gets a little weird, but if you choose Triss, I know the story tries to come around it and make it work, but it just doesn't work for me. So I always want to serve the story. And in Mass Effect, you get to choose what characters, if any, that you want to romance as well as Shepard in terms of his story. Who does he end up with? And so far, I think Liara. I didn't really like... At first, I didn't like her actions in Mass Effect 2, but I had to replay it because I made a bad decision at the end of the game, and I need to make sure all the crew is safe, so I had to replay from an earlier save state. And I get it now a little bit more. I get it. But I do think Liara, thus far, I haven't played Mass Effect 3 yet, which apparently is not as good or whatever. I haven't played or even looked into what the Andromeda thing is or whatever. So I don't know. Thus far, I'm thinking Liara is probably the best story choice for him, but we'll see. We'll see. There's so many different combinations you can make. I know Eldritch fan was going to pop in. Oh, female Revan is the best. I'm sure there's an argument to be made for that. I just don't see it myself. But I do agree with you that the male exile stories, the male exile worked well. I don't know. I can see an argument for either side, I guess, on both of them. Definitely in the EU though, I like the way it is. But see, I thought you, Eldritch fan, you were like, oh, female shouldn't be Jedi, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, Revan needs to be a woman. All right. What else was I going to say about that? I think I finished saying what I was going to say about that. But yeah, I liked, I did recently, I was following IGN's guide for playing through Mass Effect. Because even more than Knights of the Old Republic, which was like this too, the previous BioWare game, Mass Effect is so, like, every little thing you do, if you don't make this decision in enough time, then you're locked out of that mission. And if you don't do that mission, and when you should have done that mission, then this person dies and these people die. I mean, it's very much like a choose your own adventure kind of story, going through the gameplay. So I wanted a guide, not to read all the spoilers, but just to look at the dialogue options. Okay, what are the consequences of picking that one? Because sometimes they're not always evident. In general, yeah, if you get enough persuasion points and you pick the upper left-hand blue or whatever, that'll work in your favor as a paragon. But sometimes it's tricky, sometimes, oh, you shouldn't have picked it then, you should have picked it then, or whatever. So I had the guide open, and the guide was telling me, the IGN's guide was telling me what order to do the missions in, and that was great. Towards the end, though, the guide is just wrong. The IGN's guide for the first Mass Effect one was wonderful. That's a flawless guide. It really was so well written, so well layered, and the Mass Effect 2 guide, whoever they got to write that one, it's just not as intuitive. It's just a lot of clunks of text drops, and it's not, and I'm not trying to get the spoilers for everything. I just want to know, what mission to go in and what this and that. And towards the end, it steered me wrong. It had me do the Overlord DLC before I did the IFF Reaper. No, before I did Legion's loyalty mission, which ended up having, part of the crew die or whatever, So I was like, no, I got to go back. That's not the right choice. So I went back, and I'm just kind of ignoring that part of IGN's guide now to do it right. But I don't mind that. I like replaying these stories, because if I love the story of a game, it's like a great novel or a great movie, then I want to revisit that. I'll always go back and replay Knights of the Old Republic, Witcher, L.A. Noire, Kingdom Hearts, the first 2 Kingdom Hearts games. Epic. I love good story games like that. So yeah, anyway, let me see what you guys are saying about it. I see a lot of people. Ashley Williams from Evil Dead. Oh yeah, there's that. I never put that 2 together. It's the same name. You guys are talking about your preferred Samuel Proctor here, channel member. Let me see the beginning of your little spiel there. So you chose Ashley Williams romance. Then she started showing some sketchy opinions. I was right there with you, because if you're playing the game when you first pick up Ashley and Caden or your crew, I'm somebody that likes to explore all the dialogue options, along a certain path, Paragon or Renegade or whatever. And it felt like the game was kind of pushing Shepard with Ashley. So I thought, okay, she's sort of the game's preferred love interest. So I went that direction. But then you're right, she gets sketchy. She gets kind of bitchy too, to be honest. And yeah, so I made a choice. You made a choice where you accidentally got her. Yeah, you could choose her or Caden at one point. And you say then you went with Liara and stayed with her. And yeah, I went with Liara too because Liara reminds me a little bit of Sound Engraver. The pure innocent, very intelligent, highly intelligent, and very innocent, just that's my dear Sound Engraver. I think you said something else too, didn't you? Right, I missed the last part you said. Oh, you said though even now she's starting to wear on me. I saw my screen freeze there. I want to make sure you get this. I'm right there with you, Samuel Proctor. I had the exact same experience. And Emmy too, she starts to, I'm like, why are you being so standoffish? But then after I had to replay it again, after I had to go back and fix my mistake and go back and replay it, I saw that she's not so much, what I saw as standoffish at first, I think is her not wanting to force herself on Shepard after all that he'd been through, after all the time that's gone by. And also I think her kind of wanting to protect herself, like she had to mourn him, right? And she doesn't want to have to mourn him again. The Asari live so much longer than than humans. So I kind of get it on the second playthrough, but I was right there with you the first time. I was like, man, maybe Shepard should just kind of like fix Miranda or heck, even Jack. I'm just tired of somebody, brushing him off, but I kind of got it though. In the second time through, I was playing it. Eldritch Fan for another $4.99. Thank you, Eldritch Fan. Appreciate it. Said Exile and Visas for the win. And Revan fell to the dark side. Oh, point proven. Also, you mean for the female Jedi? Okay, so Sith can be women. Okay, I got you. Also, LSF Revan is hot when acting evil to infiltrate the Sith Academy. See, I just can't play as an evil character. I don't mean that like it's some sort of like, oh, I'll never play as that. I mean, playing Force Unleashed, for the time in the beginning, you have to play as Darth Vader, and that's fine. But I mean, when you're trying to build a character and invest yourself in it, I just can't do dark side. I've always light side and Paragon when it comes to Mass Effect. That's just, I can't imagine playing any other way for my own interest and my own, journey through the game. I wasn't going to go all the way there, my dear love, but that's my dear Sound Engraver. Slightly on the spectrum, purely innocent, incredibly intelligent, awesome in every way. That's my dear wife, Sound Engraver. And yeah, Liara kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Tom Spiegel, thank you so much for the super chat. Said, you'd think they would want Johnny Bravo on TV. He's an example of how not to behave. Gets battered around for it. Have they ever tried bringing it? I wouldn't trust anybody to bring anything back these days, but Johnny Bravo, that was just a great cartoon. That whole era, Johnny Bravo, cartoons, Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, the original Powerpuff Girls, that was great. What am I missing? I didn't like it as much. Cow and Chicken was sort of weird, whatever. I'd watch it if it was in between two of the shows I wanted to watch. I thought I Am Weasel was funnier than Cow and Chicken, and that was a spinoff of that, but whatever. Those got a little weird. I was more of a Johnny Bravo and Dexter's Laboratory and Powerpuff Girls fan. Those were good stuff. Yeah, they'd never let Johnny Bravo. Hey there, hot pants. Do the monkey with me. Come on. That's good stuff. Enzolo, thank you very much for the 99 in super chat. Appreciate that. You said, for some reason, whenever I hear Ben Shapiro talk, I always picture him as a Solarian from Mass Effect. That's funny. I can see that. Dr. Morden or something like that. Yeah. Good luck getting the image out of your head. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah. Samuel Proctor talking about you can pretty much romance like half the crew in Mass Effect 2. In fact, they even give you the option to have like a couple of gay romances if you want, which is weird. But Because when you think about the story, I get it if you have three's kind of pushing it, but maybe two, maybe three possible romance options for your main character. You can kind of sort of make the story work around that no matter what in the end. Even then, one of the romance options is going to kind of rise to the top as the one that fits the story the best. But when you got as many options as you did in Mass Effect 2, like, I just can't see, there's really no Shepard and Jack. I'm sure there's a really great character progression and, relationship development there because she's such a wounded soul and he, helps her out or whatever. But still, that doesn't serve the greater story, I just can't see it. I just can't see all of those working with the story as much as, one or two would. But anyway. Is this true, imaginative hobbyist? I so hope you're lying to me. Dwayne Johnson was looking to star as Johnny Bravo in a movie back in the day. Premise I recall was about him looking for his dad. No, pass. I'm not a Dwayne Johnson hater. I liked him in a lot of movies, but after he pulled his little stunt with the Black Adam and trying to throw his weight around and make this and that happen, and then what did he give us after that? The red one? It's kind of like, maybe you should just sit down, Dwayne Johnson, and, go ahead and take it. I don't dislike him. I like him a lot. I like a lot of the movies he gave us. I'm not like, Dwayne Johnson's so stupid. No. I just think that he's shown that maybe he shouldn't be in control so much of projects, Anyway. All right. I am about at my hour mark here, guys. So I am going to wrap it up in a second. But just checking more things. Michael Scimbati talking about Batman Hush. I'd have to reread Batman Hush to really give a good... I love the idea of the character of Hush. I think that's really cool. But I have to reread because in my mind I conflate sometimes parts that happened in the original Hush and then parts that happened in the Return of Hush. And I don't want to give bad information when I try to do an assessment. So I'd have to reread those before I could really answer your question. I do believe Sound Engraver is doing a stream tomorrow. So, I missed one of your super chats, you said, Eldritch Fan. Let me go back and check that. Yeah, Sound Engraver is doing a stream tomorrow night as usual. Oh, okay, here it is, Eldritch Fan. Sorry about that. Ever played Metroid Fusion? Thoughts on the story? No, is that like Metroid, the old Nintendo Metroid game? And there's a new game of that? I did not. I had played the old Metroid back in the day on the NES, with friends and stuff. But no, I never played Metroid Fusion. What kind of game is it? If it's first-person shooter, I just can't get into first-person shooters. It's just something about the gameplay of it. It just doesn't work. But I'll look it up if it's... Because I like the idea of the Metroid universe, but none of the games that I knew of, which is like basically the first one, and that, just really held my interest to really stick all the way to the end. But if there's a good one, I'll look up Metroid Fusion later and see. That'll be interesting. Thanks for the heads up. Appreciate it. And Zolo said you always stick with Ashley. I've heard Ashley's redeemed in part 3. I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't know. So I know there are Ashley defenders. They're Ashley, what's her last name? I can't remember her character's last name, but anyway. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream here. It's a platformer. Cool. Platformer with a great story. I'll check it out. I'll look it up and see. Stephen M's agreeing with you there. Done in the same style as the original Metroid on the NES. I'll look into it. All right. Well, I hope you guys have had a good week. I hope you're ready for a great weekend. Thank you, Stephen M. Appreciate that. Yeah, it shot by really quickly this today. So I'm like, I'm not sure. I really wrap it up. And it's been about an hour. My social energy is starting to lag. But great time hanging out with you guys as always. I'll cut out some of this and maybe I'll come back with some more. Oh, I've never got to the review. I was going to talk about Wonder Woman, the first George Perez Wonder Woman. I'll do that maybe as a standalone video, or maybe I'll get around to it next week. I don't know, but I'll definitely in my order of graphic novel reading order from post crisis. I've been doing, and I went through. We talked about it starts at like Batman Year One, kind of. You got Catwoman, Sister's Keeper, the first Man of Steel volume, and so forth. And Wonder Woman just entered the fray in terms of the first the reading. Now I've read this before. I've read George Perez's run on Wonder Woman before. I'm just rereading it right now to get the sense of it in order and give the reviews. So I will give a review on that. All right. You guys have a great weekend. Go relax. Do something fun and relaxing. Watch a good movie or read a good book or comic. That's what you need to do. And till next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue stories you love. Thanks for watching.